giving them money to take care of their employees so when we open, they can get back into business. It's been a very popular plan, even with Democrats. I think it basically passed unanimously twice, the first section, which is $350 billion. So we're trying to get 250. Nancy Pelosi is blocking it. She sits in her house in San Francisco, overlooking the ocean, and she doesn't want to come back. She doesn't want to come back. She doesn't want to come back to D.C. She's got to get back and get this thing approved. It's very important. Please, go ahead.
Dr. Birx, if I may, you again praised the American people for doing their bit over the past few weeks. But what goes through your mind when you see photographs of crowded beaches in Florida? Is that a concern for when we start seeing some of these restrictions being lifted?
Well, as I described, we go metro by metro, county by county, and so I'd have to link that with a specific county and look at their case rates. I believe the governor and the public health system that Florida has, they have some of the best county public health individuals I have ever had to deal with. They are amazing because I had to work with them under HIV/AIDS. So if the county health directors believe that that's appropriate for their county, then I'm not going to second judge an individual's approach to this because I can't see into every single county and load the low rates. I can just see there's no cases. So I don't know if that's a county with very small cases or not, but I think their county health official would know.
And many of the counties, as you know, are really free of this horrible enemy. So we're opening up. You'll be seeing a lot of this country start to open up fairly quickly. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned the importance of social distancing, but for example, Stephen Moore, someone you appointed to your Open the Country task force, is organizing a protest in Wisconsin, but aren't they in a sense protesting your very own guidelines?
Well, we have a flexibility. I didn't see what Stephen said. I can tell you he's a very good economist. He's been calling shots right.
He said we need to be the Rosa Parks of government injustices.
Well, there is a lot of injustice. When you look at Virginia, where they want to take your guns away, they want to violate your Second Amendment. When you look at, look, I'm getting along very nicely with the governor of Michigan, but she has things, don't buy paint, don't buy roses, don't buy, she's got all these crazy things. I really believe somebody sitting in their boat in a lake should be okay. They shouldn't arrest people. Some of them are being unreasonable. I really believe that. They're being unreasonable. But I think Virginia is a great case, though, because they're using this. They're trying to take your guns away in Virginia. And if people in Virginia aren't careful, that's what's going to happen to them. So, yeah, I could see where he's coming from. I think it's a strong statement, because hopefully this will be over very soon for all of us. But some have gotten carried away. They have absolutely gotten carried away.
Some of these protesters are protesting your social distancing guidelines?
I don't know. I notice there are a lot of protests out there. And I just think that some of the governors have gotten carried away. You know, we have a lot of people that don't have to be told to do what they're doing. They've been really doing everything we've asked them. We have a few states where, frankly, I spoke to the governors, and I could have gotten them to do, if I wanted to do what would have been perhaps politically correct. But they've been doing incredibly anyway. And as one of them said, everybody's doing exactly the same. In fact, our record is better than states where they're under a mandate or, where they've agreed to do certain things. Now, we have some great states out there. We have incredible people in our country. And for the most part, it's a strong statement, but I understand where he's coming from. And I think one of the greats would be one of the really important places that people really have to start looking at is what's going on in Virginia, because that's a mess with really a governor that's under siege anyway. Yeah, please. No, with the beautiful head of white hair. Go ahead. I'll tell you if I like his hair in about a minute after he asks the question.
With the Wall Street Journal. On that point, though, does the tweeting about, in the case of Virginia, linking the Second Amendment to some of these issues about lifting some of these restrictions in these states, not potentially pose a concern for the governors and civil unrest and potentially in other cases? And I have a second question, too.
Well, I think just for that question, I think that's an easy one. That's not even politics. We're entitled to a Second Amendment, and he's trying to take the Second Amendment, meaning that state is trying to take the Democrats in that state. The Republicans are fighting it. They're trying to take that that Second Amendment right, that Second Amendment right away. To me, that's liberty. That's when I say liberate Virginia, I would say liberate Virginia when that kind of thing happens. And where does it all stop? So I think it's a very good analogy. Go ahead.
Sure, I mean, is this the right time to kind of bring in a Second Amendment issue?
I think when they talk about taking your guns away, and if you notice, at the beginning of this pandemic, there were more guns sold, I think, than at almost any time in history. So it's obviously a big issue. And then you have them working and signing documents trying to take your Second Amendment away, essentially. So I do think it's an appropriate time to bring it up. Go ahead, second.
This past week, after kind of an extraordinary slew of events from adversaries, North Korea, Russia,
Yeah.
China, and Iran, all kind of pushing back on U.S. policy or toying with U.S. military forces, what's your message for some of these countries who may be trying to take advantage?
I don't see it. No, I don't see it. We had a very good relationship with Russia. We worked on the oil deal together. I was with by telephone, King of Saudi Arabia and the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We worked out a deal on oil. That was a very important deal to them and to us and to Saudi Arabia. It was in a deadlock. You know it. You covered it very well. Actually, Wall Street Journal covered that very well. I worked with Putin and with the king on that. And President Putin was a total gentleman, and it was very important to get that done. And the king was great. And we actually had to bring in Mexico because Mexico was a lone holdout, and they showed great flexibility. You know the story. No, I think we're doing fine. Yeah, sure. It's North Korea. I see they're testing short-range missiles, and been doing it a long time. I received a nice note from him recently. It was a nice note. I think we're doing fine. Look, if I wasn't elected, you would right now be at war with North Korea. Okay, I'll tell you for your people that don't understand the world and they don't understand how life works. If I wasn't elected, you would right now. Maybe the war would be over. Hopefully with a victory. But if you remember when I first came in, we didn't have ammunition. Not a good way to fight a war. President Obama left us no ammunition, okay? And he left us virtually no medical and ventilators. He left us, the cupboard was dry, right? The cupboard was dry. No, I think right now you'd be at war, essentially, in some form. Be over, it would be raging with North Korea if I weren't president. And we're doing just fine with North Korea, just fine. Let's see how it all ends up. In the meantime, they said, oh, Trump's given up. And then they said, oh, really, what's he given up? And they said, I don't know. Then they said, he met. Oh, I met. No, I have a good relationship with Kim Jong-un. That's not a bad thing to have a good relationship. Obama wanted a relationship. He wouldn't meet with Obama. Wouldn't meet with him. Okay, I have a good relationship with him. We met at the line. I stepped over the line the first time anything like that's ever. It's all good. It's good. But when they say, the stupid people, I call them stupid people, or the haters, they say, Trump's given up so much. Really? I've actually increased the sanctions. China's been very good on the border. In fact, right now, the border is stone cold closed between China and North Korea. Our relationship with China was good until they did this. Once we found out about this, look, we just made a trade deal where China's going to have to buy $250 billion a year in our product, $50 billion from the farmers, $40 to $50 billion from the farmers. The relationship was good when we were signing that, but then all of a sudden you hear about this. So it's a big difference. The question was asked, would you be angry at China? Well, the answer might very well be a very resounding yes, but it depends. Was it a mistake that got out of control, or was it done deliberately? Okay, there's a big difference between those two. In either event, they should have let us go in. We asked to go in very early, and they didn't want us in. I think they were embarrassed. I think they knew it was something bad, and I think they were embarrassed. But, no, I think we're doing very well. Well, so you said Russia, you said China, you said North Korea. Iran. When I came in, Iran was a terror. We had 82 points of fighting. We had 18 points of major confliction. The first week, I said, tell me about Iran. Sir, we have 18 points of confliction, meaning Yemen, Syria, all Iraq. They're going into Iraq all over the place. They're a much different nation right now. I stopped that horrible deal, and they want to talk, except that Kerry violated the Logan Act. he made the deal, and he doesn't want them to make a deal because I would have made a deal, in my opinion, except that John Kerry, who made the deal originally, which was a stupid deal to make, gave him $150 billion, gave him $1.8 billion in cash in green. That would be more than this room 10 times with $100 bills. That you could fill up this room 10 times with $100 bills, and it's not that small a room. And I say he violated the Logan Act. I think it was a major violation. I think we would have had a deal if it wasn't for John Kerry. But he doesn't want to be, number one, embarrassed. Number two, he said, let's wait till after the election. Maybe Sleepy Joe Biden's going to win. And if Sleepy Joe Biden wins, you'll own the United States. And China will own the United States. China's paid us, you know, from the Wall Street Journal, hundreds of billions of dollars. Is that right, tariffs? And we gave a lot of that money, a small percentage, but a lot of money to the farmers. And it kept the farmers going great. Right? But hundreds, we're getting tens of billions of dollars in tariffs. And by the way, for those of you that say, oh, we're paying, China devalued their currency in order to pay these. We didn't pay. China paid. They don't like to write that. They also added money into their system. So they paid for that. No, I think you have numerous countries waiting to see whether or not Sleepy Joe wins, because if Sleepy Joe won, they own our country. They will take our country. You know, we had, go back 2 months, we had by far, and China was supposed to catch us. You know better than anybody, Wall Street Journal. For years I've heard, by 2019, China will catch us. There's only one problem. Trump got elected in 2016. That was a big difference. And we were going leaps and bounds above China. And before the problem with the plague, right? China was having the worst year they've had in 67 years. That was before the plague. Now they're getting really hurt, and so is everybody getting hurt. I don't want them to get hurt, but they're all getting hurt. Everybody's getting hurt. It's a horrible thing that's happened. But we had the greatest economy in the world by far. China isn't even close. Go back 2 months. And we're going to keep it that way. But when you mention Iran, Iran is a much different country than it was. When I first came in, Iran was going to take over the entire Middle East. Right now, they just want to survive. They're having protests every week. They're loaded up with the plague, which I don't want. I've offered to help them if they want. If they need ventilators, which they do, I would send them ventilators. We have thousands of excess ventilators coming in. And here, we have a stockpile of ventilators, and we're starting to send them so that hospitals can fill up their stockpile, which they should have. New York had a chance to get 16,000 ventilators, and they chose not to do it, and I understand that. It's a hard decision for a thing that may or may not happen. I fully understand that. I'm not even complaining about that. I'm only saying this. Iran was a terror when I came into office. Right now, they don't want to mess around with us. They don't want to mess around with us. Two things. North Korea, same sanctions we've always had, except more. We haven't given anything. I think you'll hopefully take that back to the Wall Street Journal because they really don't understand it. They really don't. And with Iran, I mean, that's a different country right now. And they want to make a deal. The only reason they don't, they're being shamed in because the guy that gave them the sweetheart didn't want to met with them many times. He should have never met with them. And in my opinion, he's telling them, don't wait. Maybe Trump will lose, and then you can negotiate with a patsy, with a weak guy, and you'll take over between you and Russia. Nobody's been tougher on Putin. He knows it better than anybody. Nobody's been tougher on Putin than me. Look at the sanctions. Look at what I did with their pipeline going into Europe. Nobody even knew about it. I exposed it. Now everybody talks about it. I think it's a terrible thing for Germany to do. But at the same time, I have a very good relationship with Putin, and I was able to make a deal with Russia and Saudi Arabia and OPEC Plus. They call it OPEC Plus. That's going to save us, Texas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, other states, energy states, going to save us hundreds of thousands of jobs. And in fact, your paper wrote an incredible editorial for a change that Trump made a great deal for our country. That was a nice thing. I was shocked to see it coming out of the Wall Street Journal. Thank you all very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much.